Welcome to those of you viewing on YouTube. Before the teaching, I simply ask that you view the editorial cartoon that will be now presented to you. And just ponder it for a moment or two. It'll be a nice introduction to the teaching. Glad to have you with us. What has been very apparent for us, and what has been, I think, very uplifting for all of us over the past few months, is really the exceptional growth in all of you and in so many other members of our groups. We're really experiencing, I think, an elevation in our spirit. It's not just that we more and more understand our spiritual principles that are at play, but more and more, I think, we bring these spiritual principles into play. They are not just principles that we know, but more and more these are principles by which we live. I think there's more and more of a unity and integrity between what we know to be true and how we truly live. I think for many of us now, we are striving to become, and on most days are, that all the time, eyes opened, walking around in the world, light into the world. We know who we are, and our spiritual selves are becoming the truth of our living. This month's teaching is entitled, Blessed Are the Meek, which will be an expansion, hopefully, of that teaching. Let's begin. I'd like to begin with a principle of understanding. It is simply this. It's easier to understand a deeper truth, or if you are able to understand a more apparent, easier truth, which will then help you to understand the deeper truth. If that has not confused you, I'll then proceed. So let's begin by understanding a simple, more apparent, clearer truth in the form of a question, and that'll have an even clearer answer later on in the teaching. So here's the question. As you're sitting here right now or listening on YouTube, what is the legacy that you will leave to the earth when you pass, realizing that you are preparing this legacy by the way you're presently living day in and day out? Again, let me just ask the question, what is the legacy you are presently preparing that you will leave here to the planet? So let's keep that answer on the back burner and approach a truth, in fact, two truths that are often misunderstood, and yet I think will play a part in your legacy. The first truth. The first truth is one that is often misunderstood, and that's Charles Darwin's teaching on evolution. Most people think when they remember Darwin's phrase, the survival of the fittest, they kind of think that really means it's going to be the survival of that which is, or that who is, physically the strongest. They misinterpret the notion of what is the survival of the fittest. They feel that only the strongest, the most physically dominant one, and perhaps we would say in today's language, only the bully will survive. Actually, what Darwin meant by the survival of the fittest is not the physically strongest will survive. It's not that the physically strongest will survive. If that was the case, probably the dinosaurs would probably still be around and still be roaming the earth. But rather, what he meant was the survival of the fittest is the survival of the most adaptive, the survival of the one that can clearly see the truth that is occurring and follow that direction. It is the most adaptive to what is the truth that is the fittest to survive. I'll say it again. It's the most adaptive to the truth that is occurring, that is the fittest to survive. Let's now apply a same type of understanding, in a sense, to a saying of Jesus, a rather interesting saying. In his beautiful teaching on the Sermon on the Mount, he very simply said, this wonderful teaching in the Beatitudes, Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Let me say it again. Not only blessed are the meek, but they shall inherit the earth. This teaching seems rather contrary to everyday living, and it is, because everyday living is often not the truth. You can't understand Jesus' teaching if you simply judge it by everyday, third-dimensional consciousness. Ordinary, everyday, third-dimensional consciousness would judge being meek as being weak, or as being easily dominated, or being subservient to someone. For everyday consciousness would see that the survival of the fittest, the one who will inherit the earth, will be the most dominant one, whether the strongest physically, emotionally, financially, or socially. The power of the dominant one is especially enhanced when they are in a dominant position of power and have the backing of a group of people who are profiting by supporting the dominant one. Could be in a family, could be in a business, could be in a religion, could be in a social organization. Dominance teaches a me versus them mortality. I am right, they are wrong. I am good, they are bad. If they're good, I'm better. I see clearly, they are misinformed. Dominance has given rise to all of the negative isms in the world. Racism, imperialism, sexism, nationalism, classism, genderism, religionism, communism. The difficulty with dominance is that its separation in power lies on an untruth that I am better than you and you must become like me. That's the difficulty with dominance. I am better than you and you must become like me. Soon this untruth is recognized by those who are being dominated, and they rebel not simply because of inferior social conditions, but because of the inherent untruth, namely that some people are better than others. And then you look at the results of dominant societies, probably the most dominant of which was the Roman Empire and its emperor, or the Egyptian Empire and the Pharaoh. And you eventually see what happens. Systems based on dominance fail because they are based on the untruth that the fittest to survive is the physically dominant one. Well, the Romans have not inherited the earth. When you go to visit Italy and Rome, all you see are the ruins piled under debris. And yet the one who said, "Blessed are the meek," still seems to be surviving and has a lot more followers than the emperors of Rome or the pharaohs of Egypt. What becomes extremely important is that we understand that truly to be the fittest is to be the most adaptive. For when you are the most adaptive, you have the best chance to inherit the earth rather than follow in the defunct Roman Empire. Well, obviously more has to be said about the meaning of the term meek to understand what Jesus really said. For Jesus, the term meek is not a third-dimensional, worldly term, in contrast to the word dominant as physically strongest. Rather, the term meek means more what Darwin meant when he said that the survival of the fittest is the one who sees clearly and adopts that truth. The word meek fits this description perfectly. For Jesus, the term meek means one who sees clearly that everyone is a child of God. Not only they, but everyone is a part of the family of oneness. No one is better than anyone else, for we are all the same, lovely members of one universal energy. Even when others forget the equality of everyone and are led into dominance and its lethal result of separation, the meek person, the one who sees clearly, does not follow others down this perilous path, even though it might be socially profitable at a particular time. The meek person understands that dominance and separation are the paths of weakness, for they are the paths of the unfit to survive. I'll say it again. The meek person understands that dominance and separation are the paths of weakness. They are paths of the unfit to survive, none of whom will leave a legacy to the earth any better than the Roman ruins. The meek person stands on the truth of oneness because oneness is the inherent truth of every one of us as child of God. It's on the inherent truth that we are all part of one family. The meek person works towards inclusion, harmony, and unity, even when it's quite tempting to be dominant, not allowing the temptation to be dominant momentarily, to be in power, to subvert a living legacy that will inherit the earth. The beauty of meekness, knowing who you are and who everyone else is now, I think, we just have more and more people who are meek. Let me be clear. We have more and more people who are becoming the survival of the fittest because we see clearly and we adapt to what really is. We understand that the most fittest, if I can even use that term, the one strongest, is the one who is more lovingly inclusive because we see clearly the importance of our oneness and its power to survive. Now let's get back to you. What about that question right at the beginning? What legacy are you preparing for the earth and its inhabitants? It's a pretty interesting question. Rather than the buried ruins of dominance, my suggestion would be that are you not, as your legacy, giving life-expanding goodness and creativity? Aren't you really, as your legacy, bringing heaven to earth? Do you truly, in a sense, understand that what you are presently seeing as yourself is the oneness of everyone as well? Have you not set aside dominance, the need to control and win, and have brought forth the kindest energy within yourself that you've ever brought? Do you not have that loftier consciousness of oneness which invites everyone to share in the bounty? I hope you see that you are the fittest to survive. You're the fittest to survive because you see clearly. You see clearly what is occurring, and you adapt to its truth from a place of knowing. That's our legacy. Blessed are the meek. Well, let's say, blessed are you. Blessed are you. Blessed are you, because you see clearly
Blessed are you.
and clearly live. Let's bring that to our meditation and just see where it takes us. Thank you, Marty. So again, let us just be thankful that we have an opportunity to see clearly, to understand, not be misguided, not be tempted to be dominant to the point of forgetting who we are and who others are. Fully now dedicate yourself to this meditation. Let us now begin by simply taking a moment to settle ourselves. Just relaxing physically, bringing our awareness to the fore, using any technique that is helpful. A few breaths, a mantra, bringing your soul energy up front. Move now into that higher part of yourself, that when you say the word I, you kind of move beyond your personality, move into that higher sense of self. Just feel yourself at home in your higher self, knowing that as you do so, you're also participating in the universal life force itself. Be at home with yourself. And I'll come back to guide you shortly. Let us proceed. When people talk about legacy, it's usually newscasters talking about famous people who are going to be leaving a legacy to life. We sometimes fail to realize that we are all those famous people. In fact, more than just famous people, we are aware souls. And each one of us here will leave our energy imprint here on the planet. I just ask you to entertain this possibility that you have a legacy that you'll be leaving here. You probably even came because you wanted to be here and you wanted to make things better. I just ask that you focus on the legacy that you would like your energetic imprint to be here on the planet. Let us proceed. We also realize that a legacy is not something that happens at the end, but rather it's a presence that is created over a period of time. Part of our legacy has been created. Its best part is happening right now, and its best part to be will be our futures. May you just realize that your legacy is created today, right now. Whatever words you give to it, heaven to earth is not bad. Awareness, oneness, unity. May you just realize that the beauty of you is the gift you have to offer today, to life, within yourself, with others, and simply to the world. May you allow today to be a beautiful day, your best day of legacy. And lastly now, may you feel from the depths of your heart that you are inheriting the earth right now because you see clearly. You are enjoying this physical world. You are enjoying embodiment. You're enjoying sharing life with others. Not caught in these joys, just enjoying them. Realizing that because you see clearly, there is joy. And not only are you inheriting the earth, but no matter where you are, because you will see clearly, you will live in abundance. You are the fittest to survive because you see clearly and adapt lovingly to what is.